Seattle Seahawks Today is made possible by our friends over at Magic Spoon. Get $5 off your first order of the best tasting, healthy cereal on the market when you go to magicspoon.com/Seahawks. That link, by the way, will be in both the comment section and it'll be in the description. Let's talk rumors now on today's show, beginning with, oh, look who's back. It's Richard Sherman. It'll never go away until he signs for this year, and then again, next year if he's still a free agent. Sherman remains, as mentioned, a free agent in the NFL, and the two sides did have some contact before this year's NFL season began. And I think we would all agree that the Seahawks have some issues right now at the cornerback position. However, so far, Pete Carroll has not really shown interest in trying to bring back Sherman. He's instead backed some of his current corners, which we'll get into more in depth momentarily. There have been 4 teams linked to Sherman: the Saints, the Bucks, the Niners, and Seattle. Those last two, of course, his 2 most recent NFL teams. Now, as for the Niners and for Seattle, both teams have added cornerbacks before the year began. So too have the Saints. In fact, the Bucks are the only team that haven't really tried to add more cornerback help when they have had injuries, Carlton Davis in particular. So right now on Seattle's depth chart in terms of the cornerback position, they're in a bit of an interesting situation where DJ Reid has not played great at this point. He's been okay. The big concern for me, and I know many of you guys, has really been Tre Flowers. I like DJ Reid. I think as a number 2 corner, he's pretty solid, but he's not a number 1. I don't think Tre Flowers is a number 2. Again, we'll go more in depth on him momentarily. Ugo Amadi, marquee player, fine at nickel. But the Seahawks brought in multiple corners this, I'll call it the lead up to week 1 time frame, totally revamped their cornerback room. Clearly, they were not comfortable with where things were set to enter in week 1. Sherman at his best. I mean, we all remember the Legion of Boom. We know how good he can be. It's a question of, does he still have it? These numbers from Pro Football Focus for 5 games, it's not great. Now, those numbers differ pretty wildly from Pro Football Focus. It's PFR versus PFF. I use PFR because it's publicly available, so you guys can compare and contrast more easily. But it's an interesting situation for Seattle. Do they want to add Sherman? And is Sherman himself in the right headspace at the current moment? That is a pretty big question mark as far as I'm concerned. So what do you guys think? We're a show for the people, after all. Get your votes in. Would you sign Richard Sherman? Type in Y for yes or N for no. Let's go now to the other current starter, not named DJ. That is Tre Flowers. And The Athletic, Sports Illustrated, so many of you in the comments section wondering, how much longer is Tre Flowers going to be the starter, or at least a starter, in Seattle? I think he's a big factor in the Seahawks' coverage struggles so far. Not the only reason, but certainly one of them. And we've seen the ups and the many downs from Flowers so far. And I just don't know if he's ever going to get another step forward. Pete Carroll doing the right things publicly, backing Tre Flowers, saying it's not all his fault. But through 2 games, one of which against the Colts, they had no really good receivers. It was a different story against Tennessee. 70% completion rate, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. That's not good production. Even only 2 games, a small sample size, no pass breakups either. We've seen the highs and lows out of Tre Flowers. You don't want your corners to have a lot of tackles. He's got 9 already. The bigger issue for Seattle is the depth ready, because that's kind of where we're at. The Seahawks haven't used other outside corners because they're not there yet. Sidney Jones maybe is the next man up. Of course, the former Husky showed some promise in 2020, but has very much been up and down after being a second-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles all those years ago. The Seahawks brought in Blessaun as well, who started games in the NFL. He started games for the Jets. I thought he was going to be the Jets' number 1 corner. But there's an adjustment period for all of these guys to actually get up to speed as it relates to that to the scheme, the defense, the chemistry, all that. They traded for John Reid, cut him, put him on the practice squad, and brought him back up. So he's kind of bounced around, but he's on Seattle still. Again, fits more of that Tre Brown style. Maybe when Tre Brown comes back from injury, he gets a chance to start. Seattle had all these corners entering the final couple games of the preseason. And Akello Witherspoon, Demarius Randall, others are all gone. And it's a different group than what it was expected to be where we sat just even a month ago as the preseason was winding down. So who do you want as cornerback number 2? I'm still going to keep starting DJ Reid. I'm looking for an upgrade at that other position. And I'm not including Trey Brown since he's not healthy yet. Who do you want? Type SJ for Sidney Jones. Type JR for John Reid. Type BA for Blessaun, or type TF for Tre Flowers. I'll say this, no wrong answers. So get your votes in for me in the comments section. Also with no wrong answers, whatever flavor of Magic Spoon cereal is your favorite. High in protein, 13 or 14 grams in every bowl. Low carbs, only 4 grams of net carbs per bowl. And despite having 0 sugar, tastes absolutely incredible. And as I mentioned, there are so many different flavors for you to try out and enjoy. The frosted, fruity, and peanut butter are by far my top 3. Peanut butter, by the way, a little bit higher in protein because, peanut butter. That makes perfect sense to me on that front. The frosted's incredible. The fruity is a dead ringer for Fruit Loops. But unlike the sugary stuff we all grew up with, Magic Spoon, actually healthy. Won't give you a dad bod bigger than the one you already have. At least that's for me. So go get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/Seahawks. That link, by the way, in the comments section and in the description. Let's talk Alton Robinson now, as could he get more playing time? Seattle, and I argue this is more of a good problem, is faced with this. They've got multiple edge rushers who I believe, or at least guys who can rush off the edge, who are worthy of getting playing time. Robinson, a former day 3 pick out of Syracuse, has impressed me pretty much every chance he gets on the field. He's only got 1 sack this year. We're like, okay, why do you want to give the guy with 1 sack more playing time? Well, he's had 11 pass rush reps and has 4 pressures on those. That rate is absolutely unsustainable, make no mistake, but it's damn impressive. So I joined The Athletic, Sports Illustrated, and others going, you know what, maybe it's time for Robinson to get a little bit more playing time. He flashed last year for Seattle. And again, limited snaps, 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Again, sample size does skew things here. Maybe he's not the best practice player, but I'd like to find a way to get him on the field more. The problem really for Seattle is this. The players who can rush from the edge, Carlos Dunlap, Benson Mayowa, Rasheem Green to an extent, Kerry Hyder, even L.J. Collier, Darrell Taylor, Alton Robinson. There's a numbers game there. Now, maybe you could get fun and creative in an obvious pass rushing downs. Go with what they used to call the NASCAR package. Throw out Dunlap and Green and Taylor and Robinson and Hyder or something crazy. That could be fun. But that's not really the way the Seahawks have operated for the most part. So I would like to see more Robinson. I also don't have a solution beyond I would like to see this because who are you sitting more? Taylor, Hyder, Dunlap, Mayowa. It's not an easy solution, even if it is a better problem to have than not having enough quality pass rush options. So what do you guys think? Do you want to play Alton Robinson more? Get your votes in for me in the comments section. Type in 1 for yes or 0 for no. Now the goal here between me and Megan here on the Seahawks channel is to give you guys as many videos as possible. So if you want more of them, if you want consistent updates, all for free on what's going on with the Seahawks, hit that big red button and subscribe today. Let's talk practice squad now. Yeah, we're talking about practice squad. Jace Sternberger as reportedly set to sign to the practice squad. Now, on today's NFL transaction wire, Sternberger was not included on it, meaning this signing is not official despite being announced by his agent, i.e. he probably hasn't physically signed the paperwork quite yet. I believe he was flying out today, so it'll probably be official on Friday. Sternberger's an interesting addition for Seattle, and frankly, one I kind of like. Former third-round pick out of A&M, Texas A&M, unfortunately has been a bust so far in the NFL. 18 career games, 12 targets, 114 yards, and just the 1 touchdown. He was supposed to be the long-term answer at tight end for Green Bay, but he only played in 6 games his first year, was suspended the first 2 to start this season, but as a low-risk, high-reward player, This is the type of guy I like adding to a practice squad. So does it work out? Who knows? Probably not, because he was a free agent after all, but it's a good gamble by Seattle.